Hospital chiefs say that as well as financial pressures in the NHS here at St Peter's Hospital, they face a staffing challenge as well. On the latest count, they are 500 fewer staff than they need here at the hospital trust. Now, Brexit will make that considerably worse, but don't just take my word for it. Hear about the consequences of Brexit from staff who work in the profession.
We're doctors and nurses working in the NHS.
A healthcare system which has been the envy of the world since 1948.
We care for people like you. We do it every day.
It's our life.
So why are so many of us against Brexit?
Because the people pushing Brexit are the same people who are pushing to privatise the NHS.
Johnson will not protect the NHS from the US.
Farage wants to introduce a health insurance system.
Gove misled the general public about NHS funding on the side of a bus.
We have 100,000 unfilled job vacancies.
Because doctors and nurses are leaving in droves to work in other, more welcoming countries.
This is why waiting lists are longer and appointment slots so scarce.
And we haven't even left yet.
Even just the threat of Brexit is making the NHS crisis worse.
First-rate, long-serving staff are returning to France, Spain and other EU countries.
And this has forced the government to look further and further afield for replacement staff.
So now, instead of funding treatment for you and your loved ones,
the NHS budget is being used to fund the cost of recruiting staff from other countries.
And paying huge relocation and retraining costs.
This, in turn, leaves those countries with staffing shortages of their own.
Medicine shortages threaten our most vulnerable patients.
Brexit is pushing us backwards.
It's the best healthcare system in the world.
Yet it's now on the table to be carved up by the toxic US healthcare industry.
In the US, it typically costs $30,000 for the routine delivery of a baby.
$5,000 for a year of diabetes medicine.
$30,000 for a hip replacement.
And $100,000 for a heart bypass.
The US system we could also end up with is cruel.
And every year, thousands of people go bankrupt simply because they can't afford treatment.
It's clear that the Tories are priming the NHS for privatisation.
I don't want that.
I don't want that.
I don't want that. That's why I'm fighting Brexit.
They lied about the £350 million for the NHS. They admitted they made it up just for votes.
Our NHS is in a critical condition.
But it's not too late.
You can stop them before our NHS ends up on life support.
Register for this campaign.
Back the Liberal Democrats who've been leading the Stop Brexit fight since day one.
And tell your friends.
Any Brexit will terminally damage the NHS.
Together we can. You can still stop the NHS from flatlining.